So talking about, I mean, we talk on and off the air often about this question of data and data when it comes to seats. We know that there's the Redbridge stuff and the YouGov stuff that's turned around and said, 73 is the tippy top. We know that in the freshwater, they have suggestions of how many will be won, how many will be lost. Again, from both of you, as people who know how to read numbers, and obviously we all get to know together the true result, are we getting a better flow of information, or are we just getting more information, Stephen, about some of the granular stuff in and around elections, and that partly builds narratives rather than is just an insight as to what's going on?
Yeah, look, I think some of the polling that you've just mentioned there is beginning to give us a more informed view. I think some of it is going to be colour and movement and noise for exactly the reasons that Bronwyn has just described. But as numbers build up in both the seats and adjoining seats, the sort of Redbridge, what they're calling the rolling track or rolling poll, some of the freshwater polling will build on its previous polls. YouGov, I hope, will have greater numbers because at the moment, those numbers in each seat are probably too small to be taken too seriously, but I'm assuming they're going to be building those numbers forward. So you can get a better picture, but you're needing, I would argue, I'm going to be unkind to the pollsters because they pull their hair out because it costs too much money, but over a 3 or 4 week period, you need about 800 to 1,000 to be able to begin to feel comfortable. A 300 poll in a seat, not worth the paper it's written on, but the rolling averages where the bottom numbers from a week ago drop off and the new numbers come on, you might begin to get a flavour if that is an 800 sample.
There's another thing that
we're actually going to get a version of that on. Sorry, Bronwyn, I was going to say we're actually going to get a new version of that rolling stuff. We'll have a chat to Cos and the team from Redbridge as part of our conversation about the state of the race. That will be on Sunday here on Paul Murray Live. Sorry, Bronwyn.
I was just going to say there's that feeling on the ground when people are prepared to raise it with you when you're standing in a queue at the supermarket. When you're in what is normally an area where nobody wants to talk politics, people are prepared to say they want to change a government. And that's the sort of feeling that may or may not be reflected in those polls. But when you're in a campaign, and I've been through a few, you know a feeling on the ground when something is starting to move.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we'll find out more as it rolls on, whether that election is called this weekend or not. We'll be all across it, all day, every day here on Sky News. Make sure that it is your homepage. I'm telling you, skynews.com.au. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, all of that business on YouTube. Get the podcasts. That's the plugs. Now, by the way, thank you, Stephen Conroy, for turning up, because there was some threats. But because I'm here living it up in Las Vegas, you know, hat and all, very comfortable fat guy shirt that I've got on. You were going to go in a work van, but no, you showed me that you're the bigger man, you're the better man. You turned up.
I'm wearing sunglasses next week if you're going to wear more shirts like that, though, Paul. And more importantly, I hope you're able to check into the hotel okay. I've been reading stories that not everyone was able to check into a hotel as easily if they had an Australian passport recently.
That's a very good point. There may be a story about that at another time, just when I make sure I've got my head on a pillow at some point tonight. All right, let's talk here about Matt Keane, because Matt Keane is out and about saying, oh, goodness me, if there's a change of government, then I won't continue on as the Labor Party's independent czar when it comes to climate change. I think that Australia should have a system that is much more like the American one, which is when there's a change of government, when you can, you remove as many people as possible who are going to try to slow play the ball. Could you care less about the plight of Matt Keane, Bronwyn?
No, I couldn't. And I think it's quite pathetic to see him crawling and saying, please, please save my job. I mean, really, this is the man who's been behind so many untruths regarding climate change. As I used to say, Malcolm Turnbull was the organ grinder and Matt Keane was just the monkey. And he's proven to be just that. And he's obviously available to whichever side pays him the most. And now he's going to whinge because he might lose it. There is a very big case to be made out to get rid of so many quongos, as they are known in the political parlance. All these sorts of agencies that are really are a waste of taxpayers' money. And we should get a whole list of them and start to go through them with a red pencil and start with the one that is headed up by Matt Keane.
Yeah, well, that's, of course, part of the focus of
Paul,
Jacinta Nampijinpa Price. Aussie Doge, we'll get to her later. Final one here, Stephen, about a word of comfort for Mr Keane.
No, look, I've unfortunately evolved from being a supporter of the true British parliamentary Westminster, public servants. I'm now much more in favour of what you were suggesting, that there should be a much broader class of public servants that fall into that political appointment category. I think governments of both sides are increasingly frustrated with who they inherit along the way. So I think there should not be any surprise if a government wants to put in place the people who will deliver on its agenda. I wouldn't reach as far in as Trump and Doge have been doing, because obviously then you've got to rehire the people you stupidly sacked that look after your nuclear arsenal, for instance. But I do think, Paul, your suggestion that there needs to be a much broader and deeper group that the governments of the day, the newly elected governments, are entitled to appoint. I think that is a better model, moving to more the American than the British system.